I think it's just a really cool thing to be able to visit. Jacob called me. We've been in touch this year a little more than what we have in years past, but been in touch this year. He called and said, "Hey, I'm in the hallway," and just really cool to catch up. And I wanted you guys to be able to hear in on some of the things that he would have to say, because it's some wonderful things. So, Jake, catch us up a little bit from 2018 to where we are now as 2024 approaches.
So it's been crazy, man. To start, obviously graduated from Franklinton, went on to LSU to pursue my degree there. Started out actually working in football. I knew I wanted to do something in athletics. Wasn't quite sure what it was, though. So
what was your degree you started in?
I started in marketing.
Okay.
So went to business school, thought I might have wanted to be a sports agent, real estate potentially. But I kind of had a focus that I wanted to stay around sports. So took a job actually working with the video department at LSU just to get my foot in the door, kind of piddle around, see what I liked. Yeah. And went on, did that for 3.5 years. Was fortunate enough to win the national championship in 2019 with the Tigers, and loved it, man. Loved being on the road, loved being around the team. And
a special group of people.
Oh, yeah. See, a lot of high-performing individuals, as you can think. I mean, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I mean, the list goes on. At the end of the day, sure, it was in football, but you really got to see how high-achieving people and how high-performing individuals operate on a day-to-day basis.
Before you go further, I was going to ask you and let you finish to get us to 2024. But being you touch on it, what do you mean on a daily basis? What do people like that, what do you find they do different than the majority of people?
What's crazy is it's nothing, like there's no secret sauce that these people have. It's really cliche, but they just live the right way. They do everything the right way, whether it's going to school, whether it's their hobbies, whether it's the sports that they're involved in, the relationships that they have, everything they do the right way. And what I find funny is, like, you know, you growing up as a teenager and as a young adult, and you're hesitant to listen to your parents or your mentors or even your peers that are a little bit more wise than you, and you know, you might acknowledge the criticism or the advice for what it is, but to truly implement it in your life, you always feel like, oh, there's a time and place, I can get myself together later. Well, these people are 18 to 20-year-olds, and they have all their stuff together, all their I's dotted, their T's crossed. I mean, they just gave 100% of their ability to whatever they did.
And I don't feel that starts when they get to a place like LSU. And you'll get here in a few minutes, I'm sure, talking about where you are now currently. But I think that starts way back. When do you think that, how do you implement those things as a 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old kid?
I think to start, you have to make sure you have the right people around you. I think it's hard to conduct yourself in that way if you're going to be the only one doing it in a given environment, right? So you have to make sure you're around the right people, around the right mentors, have the right friend group around you. And I mean, another cliche saying, like, you are what is it you are what your friends are, something like that.
The company you keep.
Yeah, the company you keep. That's exactly right. And make sure you have good people around you to start, people that are going to hold you to a high standard, and people you can lean on, you know, for when times are tough and you might not want to push through. But
what if I'm a young kid or a young adult that hears you say that, and there aren't that group of high achieving? It's not like, hey, here's all the high achieving people over here. How can I befriend them?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? Are there any lines? Are there any barriers? I know one of the things that stood out for me when you were a part of JAG specifically, there were a lot of people who, like, you were a really good student, you were involved in a lot, and there were some students who weren't that,
right?
You know, and you got to learn just social awareness and how to interact with people.
100%.
You know, does it matter how old somebody is to look at them as a friend or as a mentor or as somebody you can lean on? What would be your take on that? If there's not a whole lot of people who are like-minded that are your age?
I think one of the biggest blessings of our generation, the world we live in today, is this thing right here. Because, I mean, really, if you don't have the direct examples in front of you every day, because some people aren't fortunate enough to have that, you know, you can look up Tons of videos. I mean, there's tons of influencers now, self-help people, entrepreneurship where they're, giving beginner guys and advice to young people. I think being a part of community is extremely important. So like if you don't have that in your day-to-day life, through an online community, maybe reach out and find a support system. But there's plenty of examples out there. And I think we all know what they look like too. I mean, you look at greatness anywhere, whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's who's Picasso, whether it's Drake with music or Michael Jackson, whoever. Like, whenever you take all these individuals who are extremely successful, typically they all have one thing in common, and it's that they give their bet. They sell out for whatever it is they're doing. And
I think with that, to add on, Jake, a lot of that, those people have had failures. So through those failures, they begin to obsess over it.
100%. 100%. I think you have to be excessive to some extent.
Yeah.
Obsessive.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not, you should work so hard. If you really, really want something, you got to work so hard at it that everyone else is going to think you're crazy for dreaming that big or for having that vision. And you're going to teach them that they're not crazy whenever you accomplish your goals. But I think you got to dream big, man, and shoot for the stars, and you'll land on the moon, as they say.
So 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys win the national championship. Take us from 2019, transitioning from kind of video film department.
Yeah.
To
so after 2019, I knew I really wanted to coach, and so now the position I was in. Well, I'm a 19-year-old, didn't play college football. I'm in the video department here. How exactly am I going to end up in a position to coach football?
Before you go further, what would be your roles in a video sense?
So, for example, I would go out every day and video practice. So I would video Coach Ogeron at the time. He was our defensive line coach. So I would video his individual drills, take them inside, cut them up, make cut-ups for him, have it ready. But like in terms of meetings or like coaching the players or being involved in drills, any of that, there wasn't really any involvement in the beginning. And so I knew that I had to make some sort of change to get where I wanted to be eventually. So actually during the 2021 season, I had worked my way into doing less of the video stuff and more of Coach O's like personal assistant type stuff. So I would make sure he had water all the time, Diet Coke. When practice ended, like made sure he had the clothes he needed for his press conference. Like just started picking up all the little responsibilities I could. Anytime someone said, "Oh, Coach O needs this done," I would be the first one to raise my hand, even though it was not my department, not my responsibility, because I knew I needed to create value for myself.
Was that something he said, "Hey, I want Jacob to do that," or like
no.
you say that was you volunteering?
Yeah, and that was stuff. Even at times, I would go to people that it was their responsibility, like his direct assistant, say, "Look, this is what I want to do. I need to create more value for myself. How can I help?" And they would give me extra work to do. And at first, people just looked at me like, "Why is this video kid coming, bugging me all the time, asking for help?" But you do it enough, and people will listen to you. And so got more responsibility on that front. Kind of worked my way in, doing a lot more personal stuff for Coach O. And then, crazy part, 2021 happens, and that whole entire staff gets fired. So I still had 1 year left of college, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, all of my connections are gone now. The only shot I ever had to transition to coaching is over with.
Right.
So once again, kind of had to reassess, realized I needed to change something. So I ended up switching my last year of college, went straight online. And when Brian Kelly got hired, I was the first one in the building. I made sure whenever Brian Kelly was there and showed up at LSU, I was going to be the first person he saw. So I was waiting there when he got out of his limo, had him a bottle of water, walked him upstairs, showed him kind of where stuff would be, and just kind of met with him, told him the deal. Like, "Coach, look, I know that I don't have any experience. You have no reason to give me this chance, but I know I don't have the knowledge of what you want in a coach, but I can promise you this, I'll work harder than anybody else in this building." And he gave me the shot. And
what capacity was that, Jay?
so they took away all financial aid for me. I got paid. So I guess to give a little backstory, with the video job, I was on full scholarship, fortunate enough. So I had full school paid for, academics, books, all that stuff, and was getting my TOPS money in my pocket. Well, Coach Kelly told me if I wanted to transition, he would have to take away all financial aid, no more scholarship. It would obviously be a lot more work for me, but I would essentially just help the coaches' assistants with whatever they needed.
Right.
So I was good to go. Didn't have a lot of money at the time, no, had to figure something out. So I ended up actually moving in with one of the coaches, slept on his couch for 6 months, lived with him and his wife, and went from there, man. Just learned a ton, lived in that building, worked my tail off for the goal of whenever I graduated, that they would give me an opportunity to be a graduate assistant.
Yeah.
Well, we had a great season. Both of the assistants that were in front of me got promotions to go other places, so I thought I was first up. Well, Brian Kelly comes to me and basically says, look, dude, you don't have no experience. We can't hire you here. You're going to have to go get experience, and maybe we'll talk down the road. So I ended up getting a job at a small school, Eastern Kentucky, as a defensive analyst. Went up there in January and worked throughout the spring. Loved it, grew a ton. I know finding yourself is cliche, but whenever you move off by yourself like that, you truly learn what's important to you, what you value, whether you really love what you're doing or not, you know. And
certain things kind of fall by the wayside.
100%.
Other things rise.
100%. You learn what's important to you, and loved it there. Loved getting around those kids, and it being a small school, I got to have a lot more responsibility. So I grew a ton as a coach and as a person. I mean, hell, I'm only 23 now as it is. So middle of the summer comes, and I'm standing on the field running one of our kids' camps, and I get a call from an Arizona area code. And I'm like, okay, it is kind of weird. And in the coaching world, you kind of know. I mean, you've been there. You know how it is. Like, shit, somebody random calling me. Let me better check and make sure this isn't something important. Pick it up, and it was a tight end coach at Arizona. He said, hey, man, I'm going to put you on the phone with our offensive coordinator in just a second. We'd like to interview you for this position if you're interested. So I grabbed one of our players we had at Eastern Kentucky. They grabbed him, said, hey, man, come run this drill real quick. I got to take a phone call. Ran behind the bleachers, interviewed with Coach Carroll. And
so what led to that? Led to that call?
So
had you applied for anything? Or
but funny story. Basically, what happened, and this taught me a big lesson, really, Coach Nate. So one of the GAs at LSU that I didn't even work with, because I was on the defensive side of the ball. This guy was on the offensive side of the ball. He basically, through connections, is tight with a bunch of people at Arizona. Well, they were looking for a GA on offense. They called this guy, his name was Steve, at LSU, because they thought he did a really good job and they respected his opinion. And so they said, Steve, do you have anyone that you're kind of looking? He said, you know what, man, this kid, he's never coached offense before, but he's the hardest freaking working kid I've ever been around, and he's hungry, and he'll come in and do whatever y'all need him to do. Yeah. And so that's kind of how they got my name. And after I talked to Steve, he said, you know what, man, take this with you wherever you go. You'll get more opportunities from your peers a lot of times than you will your bosses. Yeah. Or your peers' opinion of you, how your peers respect you and respect the way you work. So
it goes a long way too, I think, to talk about how you engage with people who in reality you may be in competition with.
100%.
You know, yes, you're wearing the same colors, but at the end of the day, sometimes it is a jockeying for the next position, the next role.
Oh yeah.
You know, so being able to manage that. What do you see, Jake? So you just finished. Give us a little rundown of your first season at Arizona and kind of what you, not immediate future, but you say shoot for the stars, shoot big, aim big. What do you see, 5-10, what would be your dream? Paint it for us.
So, we really got blessed this year, man. Had a great year at Arizona. I think it was the fourth time at Arizona that they've won 10 wins. Had a 10-win season.
Some close losses too,
Yeah,
against
so
some good schools.
16 points away from being undefeated total. Great year, man, but lost a few close ones at the beginning and then went on a 7-game winning streak to finish out the year. Obviously beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. That was big time. But biggest thing I've taken away from Arizona is it's not the talent that wins championships, and it could be in sports, it could be in business, it can be in whatever. At LSU, was used to dealing with some of the best players in the nation, most talented players in the nation, 5-star recruits, 4-star recruits. Arizona, you don't get that. So what I realized is how these people turned the program around was with culture. It was making sure you had good people from top to bottom in your organization, meaning coaches, players, equipment managers from top to bottom. And whenever you get a group of really good people together that have a shared vision, you can do something special.
Yeah.
And the saying, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I mean, it's true. It's true. And I think culture wins, and I think people wins.
Yeah.
And it'll beat out talent every time.
What paint it for us 5-10 from now? You need to close your eyes or what?
5-10
probably
years
see
from
it,
now,
dude.
man. Yeah, I'd like to be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah.
Is kind of the goal. Now, long-term goal, I want to be the greatest head coach of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a lot easier said than done. You know, I just think keep climbing the ladder, man. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy being around the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, feel like you're making an impact.
Yeah.
And really, as long as I can do that and feel like I'm making an impact on these kids, and it's fulfilling, I mean, I'll do this forever.
Yeah. I mean, you say that you're 23. You're still, I mean, on paper.
I know.
Is that? Do you feel that's
I
a
know.
hard separation?
I'm
Hard relationship to kind of manage? Or
It
what?
is. It is at times. Now, I think if I wouldn't have had such good people like
Yeah.
you setting an example for me my whole life, I mean, because you were doing it at a young age too, you know. I just think you just have to keep it professional.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I look at it, right, so 2 of the tight ends I had this year were actually older than me. Both of them were 24. I'm only 23.
Mm-hmm.
And am I in a position where I'm going to be the type of coach that's going to curse them out
Right.
constantly and MF them and
Right.
ride them? No, it's not that. I went to him at the beginning and said, look, man, my simple job is this, to make you the best football player you
Right.
can be. That's my only job.
Yeah.
How we get that accomplished, that's like between me and you. I don't have to MF you as long as you will buy into what I'm telling you and trust
Right.
that I'm going to make you the best version of yourself. And they did from day one. And I think as long as you try to live your life by leading by example, you know what I mean? Speak appropriately, dress appropriately, show them how to be a grown-up 23, 24-year-old.
Right.
Then they respect you already. You know what I mean?
And they see your work ethic. They see the intentionality, you know, that you're approaching everything, I'm sure, with.
100%.
On a personal level, have you been able, well, travel-wise, whether it be with the university or what, have you been able to do much of that or what? What's been some of your favorite places if you've been able to go?
Favorite places to travel? Pullman, Washington was good. Talk about a moment where I was just sitting there. So up there by Idaho, I mean, it's nothing but mountains and valleys, like as far as you could see, no building. Talk about a moment, I sitting there on the runway, like, damn, I'm a long way from home.
Yeah.
That one was awesome. Playing in the Rose Bowl, obviously, was a big time moment. The Coliseum at USC, that was a surreal moment this year.
Yeah.
Before the game. I mean, just places that you dream about. And you know how it is growing up in a small town like this, Coach Nate. It's stuff you only dream about. You know what I mean? And then even sometimes when you get there, it feels like it's fake.
Yeah.
But those are the moments truly where I realize how blessed I've been and fortunate to have opportunities like I have and to have people around me that support me and push me to get there. So it's definitely been humbling.
Dude, I know back home, I talk with your dad often about you and just reflect, and dude, he's so proud. I know your mama and your sister are so proud, but to hear, you know, it's unfortunate. It's not always the guy that works the hardest that success comes to. How has your definition of success changed at all?
100%. I think it has. So going back to my times at LSU, right, whenever I was the hardest working person in the building and then they tell me I'm not good enough, what that made me realize is hard work doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't. And that it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of life. Hard work does not guarantee success. Now, what hard work will do is put you in a better opportunity to be successful when the opportunity presents itself.
Right.
I think it takes a little bit of luck, you know, to the success we're talking about. It takes a little bit of luck, good timing, and you just got to make the most of your opportunities. So like that's where I go back to these ultra successful people. I mean, what is it? It's people who live the best version of themselves day in and day out. If you do that, you're successful, no matter what you do.
You know, you talked about, you know, that list of people. I'm sure a lot of it comes back to routines. You know, quality habits, quality, just a set regiment that they repeat,
100%.
and it's quality. You know, anything, Jake, that that you would like to share just with Franklinton, Washington Parish, whoever may end up seeing this. Doesn't have to be anything significant, but man, I personally want to say I cherish our friendship. I got my clippers. I think I can run the house.
I need one. I need
way back when I used to cut it for you a few times, but man, I cherish our relationship, and I'm excited of not only where you're going, but where you've been, and just your growth, man.
I appreciate it, Coach.
It's incredible to see somebody who sees what they want and goes and gets it.
I appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to leave anybody with?
Yeah, so one thing you always push me my entire life, and I think too many times people shy away from challenges or accountability, right? You, whether it was fair, not fair, whatever, I always felt like you held me to a certain standard, which was the best version of myself. And part of the reason I value all that so much now is literally because of conversations me and you had, where it's like, it is what it is, man. Like, you either gonna go get it or not go get it. It's your life, and you always push me to be my best, Coach. And man, it's a shame that everyone is not fortunate enough to have someone like you behind them. You know what I'm saying? The whole way, to lean on and to support on. And so what I'll say is just find that person in your life that wants what's best for you, is going to push you to be that. Because there's not a ton of people in this world that will, and if you were fortunate enough to know this guy, make sure you take advantage.
Well, dude, those are some kind words, but a lot of it goes back to your work ethic and your desire and your direction. So, man, I appreciate you. I know I want to utilize you in any way I can to pour into students.
Oh, 100%.
And you've always been willing to help out with that. So, nothing but love for you, being the man.
Love you, Coach.
Love you, Jake.
My man.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yes, sir.